Cassettes sound a lot better than MP3s.
I tell you what, on that subject, I've got a friend of mine that I've done business with for years in Springfield, Missouri, and they still run cassette tapes. And you think, gosh, how much could that be? Well, they're the largest manufacturer on the planet, not the United States, the planet.
Yep.
And he found all the original equipment that was with Ampex Corporation. That was the last tape manufacturer in the United States, probably 40, 45 years ago. And he found the equipment, they reconditioned it, and they're actually producing tape now in the United States. At the moment, he's just doing all of the tape for his cassettes. He's got two different lines that he runs, but he's about to start making 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1 and 2 inch. So he's about to start offering $4.56, $4.99 Ampex tape again.
That'll be super cool.
Yeah. So, that industry's not completely dead, and he still runs a ton of tape. It's amazing how much they run. And you think, well, who could that be for? Well, there's lots of indie groups. They all want it. But he also does stuff for Disney, like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. He also did Metallica's last album. They put it out on cassette. So, some of the big major groups, they still use that format. It still sells well in Europe. And then it's become fashionable again to have your own little Sony Walkman style cassette deck again.
Yeah.
So, of course, vinyl has made a huge comeback. I saw on the TV the other night where Taylor Swift new record come out, and she pulled out a vinyl album of her new record that's about to release any time.
Yep.
So, maybe there's hope for the industry yet, that there's still going to be some real fidelity out there than some of these peeled back versions of digital.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if the industry's not going, so many studios have went away.
Yeah.
Our favorite studios, a lot of them are
they're no more.
No more. Closed down, tore down.
Yeah. That was one of the saddest things. There really is no more Music Row. Music Row is gone. The last studio that was still there was a studio called the Omni. It was kind of at the end of the road, and I saw where they were running a bulldozer right through the middle of it, getting ready to build a new high-rise.
Right.
So all of those studios that were on Music Row, there are none left.
Yeah.
The industry is completely changed, and they've moved out of town. They're in Franklin now. They're in different places. They're not. They're not there anymore. Because the property become too valuable. Instead of just charging tax for one building, now they can do it for every floor of that high rise. Yep. So their tax base just went through the roof for Nashville. Well,
right.
Politicians like that.
Yeah, the city government's not going to deter studios being built down for that purpose.
Exactly.
Or tore down, I mean.
Right. The only ones are left, like Studio B, RCA, they made it a national landmark.
Right.
So they couldn't touch that.
They were wanting to tear it down at one time.
They did, but people jumped in there and got it named as a national landmark and saved it. Thank goodness they did.
Yep.
Because some of the most classic recordings, were done there. It should have been on that national register, and now it is. So thank goodness they were able to save it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a shame that Nashville was really an artisan town, and it was really a unique place. But that the almighty dollar caught up to it.
Yep.
And that whole way of recording albums and developing music, all of that has went away.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's my concern about the future of recording is, will the recordings be good that come out anymore? We were talking, the basics that go, the foundations of learning how to record good. Another thing is, like your dad told me 30 years ago, acoustics. The laws of acoustics never change,
Right.
but you kind of have to have some little bit of understanding about that too when you're designing a space to record in. You don't
Right.
want to record. I know a lot of people do. I did myself when I started out recording a bedroom.
Right.
You know, but that's not an ideal place to record, of
Right.
course, acoustically.
Right.
With no treatment anyway.
Well, but you know, and I say to that, you know, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
But after you learn and you get an education in it, then hopefully you have that drive to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's when you start learning the art of real recording and what it takes to do good recording. You know, you can have the greatest equipment in the world. If your space is not good, you'll never do good recording.
Right.
So it takes a balance of both, and knowing how to utilize both, you know, your space and your equipment, and, you know, the technique of, you know, how to place the microphones and all the different ways of capturing whatever that subject is, whether it's a voice of a violin or a human voice, or if it's a guitar or whatever it is, an amplifier. You know, there's lots of different techniques on how to capture that so it sounds correct and proper in your recordings.
Yep.
And of course, that in a nutshell is the art of recording.
Right. Yep. So with all these studios that we loved, you know, being tore down anymore.
Yeah, it's
The spaces
it's depressing.
the spaces that were designed to record correctly are becoming
Yeah.
fewer and further between.
Right.
It seems.
You know, and now they have all these different, you know, mic modeling and room modeling and all this
Right.
stuff. And you know, to some degree it works, but it don't. You know, I'm sorry, you can't replace a U47 microphone cutting it with a SM58 and mic model it to that. It just does not sound the same.
Yeah.
And it never will. Now, it may sound different and it may sound better, but it's not the same.
Right.
You know, it's just not, because there's more to it than just the microphone. You've got the, you know, whatever's in your chain, you know, the preamp, you know, if you've got a compressor or compressor limiter or whatever is in your chain that you're recording with, all of that shapes the sound of that particular piece that you're working with, you know, and you change one of the spokes in the wheel does not roll the same.
Yeah. And that's kind of back to AI. You know, modeling a real human being is never going to be the same as a real human being doing
No,
it.
and how long does it take to run out of all those different models that it can pull from? You know, when music starts to change, does it change with it? Or does
Right.
it go back and find stuff from the 80s and 90s? Or does it find something from current that is maybe a little suspect? It's maybe not exactly what you're looking for. You know, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to interpret. I don't know.
Right.
You know, maybe they give you an option for that. Who knows? But
Right.
but then again, you know, the human element, the creativity of this individual human, and that, you know, there's something to be said for that. And somewhere in that mix, that's going to get lost.
Yep.
You know, and the intuitiveness of that. You know, and I don't know that there's a computer on this planet that can come up with that.
Right. Like you were saying, the thing of human beings being all together,
Yes.
like you cut here, especially more so in the past. I know a lot of stuff you do now kind of is piecemealed here and there sometimes.
Yeah, and of course that is definitely not my
Right. Not your favorite way
preferred
of doing
method of doing it. I like for everybody to be in the same room so you
Yeah.
can collaborate.
Yeah. Feed off each other.
It makes a synergistic thing happen, you know, and it's kind of hard to do if you're in different states at the same time.
Right.
You know, and but sometimes again it goes back to the dollar.
Right.
It's dollar driven. You know, it's just not feasible to bring a whole band in to cut, you know, just one or two songs. You know, it costs way too much.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to resort to that.
Yeah.
And there's ways of doing it, and you can end up turning out just okay. It can be fine. But if we're in the same room at the same time, will always be the best and preferred method of recording a real record.
Right.
You know, and really have that feel, that moment, you know, because you have to capture that. That's the essence of
Right.
cutting a real record,
Right.
you know,
That's what I think a computer will never be able to
It never will.
emulate.
No, it never will. And it has to have something to draw from. Well, what happens when you've used up all that draw
Right.
and there is no new ideas? You
Yeah.
know, I don't know how that's going to interpret. I don't know.
Yeah, everybody will get tired of hearing the same stuff eventually. or
They will.
Similar stuff.
They will. Yeah, I think so. And of course, what does that do to the music industry?
Right.
I'm afraid it dilutes it further.
Yeah. It may be after our lifetimes, but I think it may come back around. I don't know that it'll ever be what it once was.
Well, may not. But I'm just glad I got to be there during some of the good times of
Me
it,
too.
and got to see really, some quality work done, and working with some really quality folks, and saw all those collaborative ideas come together, and then able to capture that moment, and really get something that that really has its own life, at that point, and that's, to me, that's why I love recording. I love this business for
Me
the
too.
just for the creativity of it,
Yeah.
and when you really get it right, you don't have to say anything. It speaks for itself.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my passion of recording.
Yeah, me too. I know, one thing when we were younger, records were an event, something that you anticipated coming out. I know my favorite bands.
Right.
Of course, I was more kind of come from the acoustic and bluegrass arena at first, but when I knew a favorite band was going to be coming out with a new record, man, I couldn't wait till it come out. It was just a build-up of anticipation.
Right.
And then, back those days, I had to order it through the mail, so
Right.
it may be several days to a week after it come out before I actually opened the mailbox, and there it was,
Right.
a package from Tim Austin, Doobie Shea Studios,
Oh, yeah.
with the Lonesome River Band's latest or new release in it.
Right.
It was just really an event back in the day. Now, so nowadays it doesn't seem to be so much. So people, and I don't know if that's because there's just so much stuff out there now.
Yeah.
The
Now they don't call it a release; they call it it's going to drop.
yeah, it's gonna drop. Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, was that drop the ball? Or?
Drop the yeah. I don't know. I don't know who come up with that term, but
Yeah.
that just, I don't know. That never did settle right with me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just showing my age, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, I don't know. That's not as enticing as it, like you just said it used to be.
Well, and now too, a lot of people don't even release a whole album. They'll just release a song or two here and there. It may eventually
Right.
turn it into an album, but
Yeah, release half or 2/3 of the record
Yeah.
before they actually release the record.
Right.
Everybody's already heard it.
yeah,
Like, I'm not sure how the marketing on that works,
yeah.
but
Yeah, back in the day, the album was already recorded and was about to come out, and there would be a single or two drop,
right.
a couple of months or however long before the actual record come out.
To build a little bit of momentum. Yeah. And of course, those were released to radio. So a lot of times, that was playing nationwide, especially if it was a major label thing, and so it built up a hype to releasing the entire record.
Right.
So I don't know, that seems like a better method to me, but I mean, maybe that's just old school thinking too. I don't know, that a lot of this marketing that they do these days doesn't make as much sense to me as
Yeah.
as the old days.